A major diplomatic breakthrough now appears to be hanging by a thread as tensions escalate around the highly anticipated talks between the United States and Iran scheduled to take place in Islamabad. What was initially presented as a crucial opportunity to de-escalate a rapidly intensifying crisis is now facing serious uncertainty, with strong signals emerging that Iran could walk away entirely unless its conditions are met. The situation has evolved into one of the most sensitive geopolitical flashpoints in recent years. The stakes are enormous, not just for the two countries directly involved, but for the entire Middle East and, by extension, the global economy. At the heart of this unfolding crisis lies a complex web of military pressure, diplomatic maneuvering, and strategic signaling. The Islamabad talks were expected to serve as a platform for addressing some of the most pressing concerns between Washington and Tehran. These include Iran's nuclear ambitions, the stability of global oil routes, and the broader regional conflict that has seen multiple actors drawn into a widening confrontation. However, even before formal discussions could begin, it became clear that the road ahead would be anything but smooth. Iran has made it unmistakably clear that its participation in the talks is not guaranteed. Officials in Tehran have emphasized that their presence at the negotiating table depends on specific preconditions being met. These demands include a halt to ongoing military operations in key areas of conflict and tangible steps toward easing economic sanctions that have severely impacted Iran's economy. This approach reflects a broader strategy by Iran to reshape the dynamics of the negotiations by setting conditions up front. Tehran is attempting to assert leverage and avoid entering talks from a position of perceived weakness. At the same time, this tactic introduces a high degree of uncertainty into the process, raising the possibility that the talks could collapse before they even begin. On the other side, the United States has adopted a firm and uncompromising stance. Washington has made it clear that while it is open to dialogue, it will not accept conditions that undermine its strategic objectives. American officials have emphasized that any agreement must address key concerns, including Iran's nuclear program and its role in regional conflicts. The tone from Washington has been notably assertive, combining diplomatic outreach with clear warnings. Only reason they are alive is to negotiate, said Donald Trump. This statement underscores the high-pressure environment surrounding the talks. It reflects a broader strategy that blends negotiation with the implicit threat of force, signaling that the United States is prepared to escalate if necessary. At the same time, senior officials have cautioned Iran against attempting to exploit the diplomatic process. Do not play the United States, J.D. Vance warned ahead of the talks. Such remarks highlight the deep mistrust that continues to define relations between the two countries. Despite the willingness to engage in talks, both sides remain highly skeptical of each other's intentions. The Islamabad talks represent one of the most significant diplomatic efforts in recent memory to address tensions between the United States and Iran. However, the fragile nature of these negotiations is evident in the cautious approach being taken by both sides. Diplomatic sources suggest that even the logistics of the talks have been carefully managed to minimize direct confrontation. In some cases, the two delegations are not expected to engage directly, relying instead on intermediaries to facilitate communication. This indirect format reflects the depth of hostility and the lack of trust that has accumulated over years of conflict and failed agreements. Pakistan's role as the host and mediator has been crucial in bringing both parties to the table. Islamabad has worked to create an environment conducive to dialogue, balancing its relationships with both Washington and Tehran. However, this role is not without risks. Any breakdown in the talks could have significant implications for regional stability and Pakistan's diplomatic standing. Meanwhile, the broader context of the negotiations adds another layer of complexity. The Middle East has been experiencing a period of heightened instability, with ongoing conflicts and shifting alliances creating a volatile environment. The situation has been further exacerbated by recent military actions, which have intensified tensions and reduced the space for compromise. While diplomatic efforts are underway, military preparations have not slowed down. In fact, they appear to be accelerating. The United States has reinforced its military presence in the region, signaling its readiness to respond to any escalation. This show of force is intended to strengthen Washington's negotiating position, but it also raises the risk of unintended consequences. Reports indicate that contingency plans are already in place for potential military action should the talks fail to produce results. This dual-track approach, pursuing diplomacy while preparing for conflict, has become a defining feature of the current strategy. Iran, for its part, has also demonstrated its military capabilities. Through a series of strategic moves, Tehran has shown that it can exert significant influence over key areas, including critical maritime routes. These developments have contributed to an atmosphere of heightened tension where even minor incidents could trigger a larger confrontation. At the center of the crisis lies the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically important waterways in the world. This narrow passage serves as a vital corridor for global oil shipments, with a significant portion of the world's energy supply passing through it. Any disruption to this route has immediate and far-reaching consequences for global markets. Iran has used its position in the region to exert pressure by restricting access to the strait. These actions have been interpreted as a strategic move to gain leverage in the negotiations, demonstrating Tehran's ability to impact global energy flows. The United States has responded with strong rhetoric and a commitment to ensuring the reopening of the strait. We're now starting the process of clearing out the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump said. This statement signals a willingness to take direct action if necessary, highlighting the high stakes involved in the situation. The potential consequences of prolonged disruption in the strait are significant. Energy prices could spike, supply chains could be disrupted, and economies around the world could face increased uncertainty. Iran's approach to the talks reflects a careful balancing act. On one hand, Tehran is signaling its willingness to engage in diplomacy. On the other hand, it is setting clear boundaries to protect its interests. This dual approach allows Iran to maintain flexibility while also projecting strength. By tying its participation to specific conditions, Iran is attempting to reshape the framework of the negotiations. This strategy is designed to ensure that any agreement addresses its core concerns rather than simply responding to external pressure. At the same time, Iranian officials have emphasized the importance of trust and accountability. They have pointed to past agreements that were not fully implemented, arguing that new negotiations must include safeguards to prevent similar outcomes. This perspective highlights the challenges facing the diplomatic process as both sides enter the talks with deeply entrenched positions. The United States has made it clear that it expects tangible outcomes from the talks. Washington's priorities include limiting Iran's nuclear capabilities, addressing its missile program, and reducing its influence in regional conflicts. These objectives reflect broader concerns about security and stability in the Middle East. However, the U.S. has also been reluctant to make significant concessions. This has created a situation where both sides are demanding action from the other without offering corresponding compromises. The result is a diplomatic deadlock that threatens to undermine the entire process. Despite these challenges, there is still recognition on both sides that diplomacy is preferable to conflict. The costs of escalation are simply too high, not only for the region, but for the global community as well. Countries around the world are closely monitoring the situation, aware that any escalation could have significant economic and geopolitical consequences. The stability of global energy markets in particular is closely tied to developments in the Strait of Hormuz. International actors have urged restraint, calling on both Washington and Tehran to engage constructively and avoid actions that could further escalate tensions. Pakistan's role as a mediator has been widely acknowledged, but the success of these efforts ultimately depends on the willingness of both parties to compromise. As the situation continues to evolve, uncertainty remains the defining feature. There are indications that both sides are open to dialogue, but there are also significant obstacles that could derail the talks at any moment. The conditions set by Iran, the firm stance of the United States, and the ongoing military developments all contribute to a highly volatile environment. The key question now is whether diplomacy can prevail over confrontation. Will the talks in Islamabad lead to a meaningful breakthrough, or will they collapse under the weight of competing demands? The coming days are likely to be decisive. The Islamabad talks represent a narrow window of opportunity to de-escalate a potentially dangerous conflict, but that window is rapidly closing. With strong statements, strategic maneuvers, and high stakes on all sides, the outcome remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the world is watching closely. The decisions made in this moment could shape the trajectory of U.S.-Iran relations for years to come, influencing not only regional stability, but also the broader landscape of international politics. This is not just another diplomatic engagement. It is a defining moment, one that carries implications far beyond the immediate crisis.